All right, welcome to today's Biohacking Consciousness. I have Laura Pritchett, another holistic practitioner and colleague of mine. Welcome, Laura.
Thank you.
Yeah, so just jumping right in, you and I have cracked the code using precise methods and techniques to spur lucid dreaming, astral travel, enhance psychic awareness, remote view, have out-of-body experiences, activate Merkaba. So we've had some really interesting back and forth and conversation around this. So in today's podcast, we're going to cover these concepts and examples of how to biohack higher states of realms and consciousness, and trying to demystify this intriguing subject in both terms of macro and micro level so that there is no confusion. So Laura, what are your thoughts as to why we chose to do the podcast today?
Hey, Camilla, that's a great question. It kind of developed out of asking a question. Either one of us would call each other and say, hey, I have a question. I've been lucid dreaming more often, or this is happening in my dream. How can I get to this state? So it was by sharing experiences with each other and realizing with our backgrounds and teaching classes and our own personal studies that we created a self-initiatory process for developing our own psychic intuition or accessing these other states of consciousness like you just described.
Right.
So that's how the podcast came about, is we decided to share amongst a conversation ourselves how we can also start initiating these tips and tricks that probably people have already been using.
Mm-hmm.
But since time is of the essence, and we all know frequency and vibration is the key to the universe, we want to talk about how everyone can access this.
Perfect. Yeah. Excellent. And I do think that the conversations that we've had with one another have been so profound as we've delved deeper down the rabbit holes. And I think that we've just have gained so much from one another. I've learned so much in these experiences over the past several years that I think we had just decided that we needed to share this information and just hit record because it has been very intriguing. And I do believe that there has just been, an ever expanding community that has gained even more wide interest in this particular subject. And I think it is for good reason.
I agree.
Yeah.
I think we often bring up the point that maybe, so both of us have experiences in these steep ancient wisdom traditions of, and it's because those people perhaps developed a really great inner awareness out of themselves during times when there wasn't so much outside distraction.
Right.
And so that was another reason we thought, is with all this distraction, how can, I mean, we're always having the conversation with ourselves, being teachers of these things, how can we gain even more psychic intuition, or more, like you said, help in our daily awareness of our inner awareness? So we talk about biohacking consciousness so that we can stay in alignment, make the best decisions, and to play with that consciousness outside of our bodies.
Yeah, that's an excellent response. And you even mentioned earlier in conversation today that we've had access to these ancient and esoteric traditions and the wisdom that we are really integrating into our lives today. So yeah, I love that point, because this is information wisdom that we can access, but just knowing this precise formula or system. So you've had lucid dreams, you've had out-of-body experiences. Do you want to speak to any of that?
Sure. My family has always had very vivid dreams, lots of dream experience, and there's probably a reason for that. We do lots of yoga, meditation, martial arts practice. So when I was young, it was a very common thing to talk about dreams. And then I realized I was lucid dreaming. So it happens when I put a lot of emphasis on it, right? So conversation, things like that, then I will actually have more chances of lucid dreaming. And then I think those lucid dream experiences help me in my daily life to bring again that relationship, that inner awareness, and developing that psychic intuition.
Well stated. And I love that you also made a comment in reference to yogic practices and martial arts and being able to access uh, higher states of consciousness through those mindful practices, because I really do think that there is it's a commonly misconstrued idea that with a myth I want to debunk, that there is an idea that we can only alter consciousness with psychedelics, when in reality it can take a simple affirmation or meditation that can help us to alter our brainwave states or access those higher states of consciousness.
I like what you said about that debunking myth with the psychedelics, because and there's much to say about that, but clearly if you've done psychedelics to reach different states of consciousness, I'm sure it's a beautiful experience. But while that experience, you realize if you had a foundation of meditation or certain practices, then you can expand even more while on psychedelics. But yes, that's why we wanted to have this conversation.
Yeah.
Is because we can get there without the psychedelics. In fact, these practices came before psychedelics or with, but yes, when you're on the psychedelics or when you're practicing these techniques, we're activating the vital energy centers of our bodies on our own without the assistance of the psychedelics. So
absolutely. Yeah.
I know that's one important message for you, especially was, hey, I want to do this podcast because we've experienced and we can teach people and demystify that. Or there's even a bad connotation to the psychedelics, but apart from that, we can get to the same state.
Okay, so for instance, psychedelics are often just leading and guiding us to the arrow of using these psychotherapy and these mindful techniques, such as yoga and all these other ancient traditions, right, that we do have access to. We've been practicing psychotherapy and other energy techniques for years.
Do you want to talk a little bit about how, without the psychedelics, or what's happening that we are able to? I mean, since it does have to do with those vital energy centers that influence the different aspects.
Absolutely, would love to. Yeah, I think that we've learned how to develop a system to biohack consciousness because we've had specific tips and techniques to achieve what we want by clearing blocked energy without maybe necessarily the use of the psychedelics or plant medicine. And for instance, I've used precise psychotherapy steps to unpack my subconscious programming and transmute energy, such as lower energy matter, whether it's fears or limiting beliefs. Exploring that deeper realm of the subconscious mind makes up 90% of our unused brain potential and so forth. So that is where we will find our energy body, our etheric body, tapping into that creative intelligence and unlocking our innate DNA potential.
Yes. Well, along with what you're saying, where recognizing the blocks. So maybe there's the inner work that we've done through psychology or, what those practices. There is, like you've stated, this awareness of, if we can master that energy and develop a keen awareness, then we can transmute that energy, like you're saying. So it's in part taking that inner journey, finding those blocks, from a psychological perspective, doing our inner work there.
Yeah. So if you can share with me why you want to teach your system to access the spiritual phenomena and higher states of psychic awareness.
What I like to teach is how to unblock through the systems of yoga, qigong, And so then it's a daily tune and practice for what's aware in your mind of, oh, I know these blocks are here because of family issues or certain things, but what is the practice? What's the moving meditation sometimes to transmute that energy? Does that make sense?
Absolutely. And from a holistic perspective, I believe that combining internal practices with the external practices of the movement and energy techniques is the most effective way to release blocked energy. Since energy is simply energy in motion, this approach aligns with the natural way of addressing stagnation. And I think you kind of hit the nail on the head with the family patterns, because I do think that we often feel a little bit more compelled to do that inner work, trying to transmute, for instance, those epigenetic patterns that continue to be recurring events in our life, right? That we feel sometimes
Yes.
keep us stagnant. So, do you think that we will have a little bit more success with accessing these higher states of consciousness if we have tapped in or delved deeper into our inner work?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So for instance, I mean, and this is a real conversation that you and I have had when we have a conversation about clearing these blocks. So you'll prompt me with questions that kind of bring up the issue. And so if we know that it's a family pattern or so, then we try to marry it with that energy body system. So for instance, with the chakra system, if we know from like it's a near physiological perspective, the chakras represent in the body these nerve plexus from the spinal column. And then with our endocrine system, that connective, we can stimulate, flex, and put attention on the nerve plexus within our body, and then continue through a physical practice, keeping those issues that we know from doing our psychological work. And then we can use the chakra system and finding out more about that and demystifying even that and using that to clear those centers. So we're using both systems that
Yeah.
to help clear this. And that's really what our conversations are, is what's going on physiologically, and then what is going on in the consciousness grid to transmute.
And kind of as you were stating, it is like the magic elixir. So I think we already have step one, being able to do our deeper inner work with our kind of holistic psychotherapy steps, accessing that subconscious state, whether it's to transmute those epigenetic patterns. But I think too, you hit the other gateway to biohack consciousness, and that's through the chakra energy centers, which you explained so beautifully, knowing that energy that flows through the chakras and the meridian systems, we can maybe even access that through like specific breathing patterns and techniques, which I know you have in your system as well.
Yes, I mean, we talk all the time about how this is the technology passed
Yeah.
down from
Yeah.
generation to generation. And the technology is using our mind as an interface to expand that energy. So it's a beautiful dance between, just as we're saying, accessing those states through lucid dreaming, other out of body experiences, and then also physically doing the practices and using the technology to experience life in a greater way.
Yeah, and it's exactly what we really want to achieve. And what I understand is that the seven energy chakras are the colors combined will emit that white light known as our auric field, right? Which are the stepping stones to even greater awareness and higher states of consciousness.
Yes, beautifully stated.
Yeah. And I don't know if you want to speak a little bit more to how this activates that energy body, because I know you've explained a really interesting concept or phenomena that you experience with an out of body experience. Do you want to share a little bit about that?
Yes, the out of body experience where I experienced my consciousness out of my body during waking hours happened like this. So it was a holiday, and I went to visit family. And as it is sometimes on holidays in my family,
Mhm.
tensions might be high. There's divorces.
The buzz, all the
There's
buzz.
all kinds of things.
Yeah.
Yes. So perhaps because I'd been doing my inner work and noticed this, I was more cognizant of it. Okay. My awareness was expanded. And sure enough, there was a very heated discussion. However, this is the first time I've experienced this to the degree that I have, like my awareness was there. Um, the conversation started getting heated, and then my consciousness went up. I felt my energy body go out, and then I was looking down at these two people, and they were so energetic and they're talking. But for me, the whole experience was very slowed down, and I was able to go out of my body, I think, because I didn't want to experience all of that high
Yes.
emotion.
Wow.
So it goes up out of my crown chakra, I mean, now I know,
Yes.
and then I was able to experience that conversation in a different way. Accessing it in a different way, seeing it in a different way, and then also realizing how beautiful to have that accessed conscious. And if we knew how to do that quicker, then what a beautiful way to go through holidays or arguments.
You're right. Fascinating. We can just float into a higher experience, right? Yeah.
Yes.
So what was the sensation of what you felt during that? Can you describe a little bit of that feeling at all?
Yes. The feeling was, and it's very similar to other times I've experienced during waking hours, the energy body going out. So in this case, it felt it was going up and out through the crown chakra, and then was up. It was very slowed down.
Okay.
And I could see it's kind of like if anyone's been in a car wreck and your body goes out and you experience the slowing down. I mean, sorry, your consciousness goes out of your body and you're able to experience that's your state of consciousness outside of your body.
Yeah. So I've had that experience before. However, what you're describing is you said it as if it like went into slow motion. So you were again, you're the observer in your experience. You're able to see the room outside of your body, floating into this kind of blissful etheric state, right?
Yes.
Into the ether.
Which is amazing. I wasn't on psychedelics.
No.
And so therefore, yes, it almost gave me a better recollection or an experience of how to get there.
Right.
Because that's sort of a difference. On psychedelics, it's a very much sped up process. So the beautiful part of learning these techniques outside of psychedelics is you can have the same state to where it's such expanded energy. You feel your energy body expanding out. Only it's your process getting there without the psychedelics.
Yeah, exactly. Like and a different vehicle. And I think that that's what we've really encountered, in terms of cracking the code, is the vehicle to get there. And in similar way, I had my experience in an auto accident, and the vehicle did catch fire. This was on my way to your yoga class back in I believe 2016 or 17. And I think it's well known that there are maybe some psychological factors or some biological factors. And in this case, an out-of-body experience occurred due to trauma, whether it's emotional or physical trauma, because it really can be both. Intertwined, but because our body is kind of deemed unconscious as we're trying to remove ourselves from some kind of a harsh reality as a defense mechanism, really. So there's just so many interesting factors involved and theories in this. So it's interesting that you also had that experience, of course, like you said, during a very iconic time when we're visiting with family and all the intricacies, that there was indeed maybe some intense emotion involved with your out-of-body experience, correct?
Yes. So both those are examples, you're right, was a gift that neither one of us planned on. We didn't have command of it where I was like, hey, let me go out. However, what a gift that I needed that day to experience that, because to sit there in a traumatic moment, or like, not to bring up another example, but it goes along with it. During childbirth, people will say they left their body. So those are all the
Absolutely.
same examples of
Yeah.
perhaps we didn't do it on command, but in a sense, we are, because we've been practicing these things.
Yes.
And then that's why we wanted to do this podcast is, hey, let's teach or share how we can essentially use this technology so that it can come as a gift in your life, whether it's during periods of trauma or, like we said, you like your experiences of accessing conscious outside of your body. And same with me with the lucid dreaming. So a few weeks ago, I described an experience where I was actually practicing the gateway experience meditations. And they said in there, feel your energy body roll outside of you like a log. And I literally felt my energy body go outside of me like a log. And then I was
Yeah.
able to astral travel up.
Wow.
And it's these things that with more practice and with discussing them with other practitioners or other people who do the same thing but are nuanced differently, we're able to come up with, like we keep saying, specific techniques and tips that will allow us to master and almost more call on these things in demand, so that we can use them to experience that inner world, that beautiful inner world within us, consciousness.
Correct. And just to clarify, when you had that experience, you were not having any altered consciousness through any kind of drug induced or substance, influences. Okay. So this was entirely conscious because you're listening to, again, specific, well, maybe the brainwave activities, right? Or different
Well,
brainwave
those are the
states,
right.
steps.
Those are the
Yeah.
steps
Achieving
that
it.
you and I, that's what we ended up is
Yeah.
discussing,
Developing.
how we can just go
Yeah.
straight to, or what is causing this phenomena. I mean, we
Absolutely.
knew, but it teaching or imparting these very specific tips and techniques
Right.
that we teach in or that we practice in our own daily lives, we realized will help other people too.
Right.
Everything that's going on in the world that is causing us to need to master our own energy.
Absolutely.
So
Yeah, good
and so
point.
exactly what you're talking
Yeah.
about is, how do we develop this awareness even as we teach it? We were realizing, no, we need even more direct tips and
Yeah.
techniques. And so, and the reason why is all of the Maya, all that's veiling us from our energy body, whether it's toxins in the air, the water, our thoughts, as we've already addressed. We addressed a lot of the psychological, perhaps our family patterns, things like that, but also everything that's a distraction again from that inner world that ages ago, that's all people did,
Right.
was their inner world with cycles of nature. And so now we're having to come back, like you said, come back and return to master our energy bodies while experiencing, in my mind, probably the most distractions we've ever had. And so developing
Yeah.
and mastering our energy body, our psychic intuition, however you want to word it, and expand that awareness is what we often say is going from surviving to thriving. And that's all I care
Yeah.
about you as a friend is, you're often like, Laura, how can I support you and what you're trying to achieve? And it's me right back at you, and it's the
Yeah.
same thing. It's what we truly as holistic practitioners wish for ourselves and others is, how can we master our energy body?
Excellent point, Laura. And I don't think that these distractions are accidental. Rather, they seem designed to prevent us from awakening to our true potential, which may be the crux of human existence. So mastering the right techniques to make this potential tangible and feel more palpable in our daily lives is crucial. And also understanding the role of our enigmatic pineal gland as the primary gateway to our awakening is essential. In our twofold biohacking consciousness system, we'll explore how to activate it to prevent it from becoming calcified, including methods to decalcify the pineal gland.
Yes, I like that. You brought up the pineal gland and the relationship it has and how it does control our endocrine system. So that means our hormones. That's why it affects our thoughts, feelings, and emotions. And then also, I am reading and just seeing, even without me researching, more information about the pineal gland all the time. So this is a wonderful time. As much as we are veiled and distracted by a lot of minutia and things we don't need, it's also a time where knowledge is surfacing. And that is what you and I care about, is surfacing our own inner knowledge, which comes through that third eye, the pineal gland. And so we love explaining exactly what's going on to, again, demystify that energy body, or demystify that we really can access this. There's no mystery. It is complete, explainable. However, there is that concept of, with the energy body, with consciousness, the grid, with the sun, how that impacts, we need vitamin D, we need sun, all those things that you started going into about our body's energy, how we can command and master our energy body, is really why we wanted to have the conversation, and then eventually talk about what are those steps, and how can we deliver that together.
Right. Yeah, exactly. Because I think having the system provides us with the tools, because we want to be able to access our third eye, right? Knowing that that has been rooted in the various ancient traditions to help us to access or be the link to our higher conscious and spiritual perception, and to be able to have this spiritual technology that we need for so many reasons. But we can access the super conscious states also to increase our creative intelligence, to divinely guide us in our north arrow, right? To unlock our purpose, to access the higher states, and to recognize that as we access the greater potential to step into the better iterations, the higher iterations of ourself, for both ourself and for humanity, we have to be very aware and clear that we will have a crash landing and experience massive disarray. For instance, depression, stress, low energies, worry, from depleting those neurochemicals, those happy neurochemicals that we all want and desire, right? If we don't have the proper grounding tools to recalibrate and downregulate our nervous system. So it's no different than, for instance, having a surge of caffeine or high adrenaline release and then crashing, albeit it's far more serious. If we wish to derive the outcomes of a higher consciousness to overcome, like you said, the scarcity or lack consciousness, it is often indicative of those blocked energies, such as a blocked chakra energy. Do you want to speak to that, or what are your thoughts?
Yes, Camille, I think you brought up a lot of things to basically say there's so much novelty in the world right now, more than we've ever seen. And it's hard to take things at face value. So developing discrimination through developing our energy bodies, to use it again to experience the magic of going outside of our bodies, or using it as a moment in time to not react, to somebody, a relationship that you care about. That's what this is really about, to use it in your daily life, to be able to slow down and be powerful with the person you're with, or explore out of the body too. So I love that you brought up all those exciting things that are a platform to jump off into.
Yes, because that is the application into how we take this into our daily life. So if you're ready to transform your life and elevate consciousness in this biohacking series, We'll explore a solution-focused system for personal and professional transformation through holistic psychotherapy. So whether you're a seasoned practitioner or just starting out, this system is your ultimate companion for healing and self-mastery. We'll delve into holistic psychology and advanced belief recoding techniques using our 7-step panacea system to uncover hidden fears and reframe beliefs, unlocking epigenetic potential. And this user-friendly approach has successfully helped countless clients overcome self-sabotaging behaviors and negative patterns. You can also professionally equip your clients with transformative exercises and steps designed to facilitate growth and healing should you have any interest in pursuing this in a clinical setting. So with our comprehensive toolkit, you'll also benefit as a cost-effective membership plan, offering significant savings compared to traditional one-on-one therapy sessions. And then next, we will bundle this system with Laura's Energy Healing Infusion. So Laura, would you like to cover your system in more detail?
Yes, I love all that you shared, and my system will be a complement to the class that you're sharing. We decided, since the chakras really are a foundation of mastering personal power. So as you're doing your inner work and healing and developing that personal power and how that manifests for you in your life, the chakra system and learning how to tone, amplify, clear blockages will be the daily practice. And you'll learn to cultivate your own self-initiatory practice. So as we go through each class, you'll master each energy center, which are just working areas of energy. And as we're clearing block energy and harmonizing, balancing each of those centers, we'll show you physical practices, and then also talk a lot about how, out of building this inner awareness and learning to master your energy and building that keen awareness will help you in your interpersonal life, as well as learn how to master those states of consciousness outside of your body. So if you're a lucid dreamer or you have the desire and intention, we'll also be discussing that. You'll find more frequency of these events happening. We'll teach you how to set the intention, how to build the desire, and then most importantly, this is all to lead you towards building better habits, routines. And that's really the foundation of learning and mastering the chakra centers.
That sounds so exciting, Laura. I can't wait. So you can find the link in the description. Thank you so much for joining us.